Welcome to Everyday Ethics, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Sorry about the day off yesterday. I try to keep the days off to an absolute minimum. So here we are today, ready to have a great conversation. I hope. I'm glad you're all here. I will be even happier if you assist with the conversation by asking me anything, because that is the name of today's episode. Ask me anything. Please do whatever you'd like. And I, in turn, will try to think of creative things to say. Remember, we do accept super chats. We accept super stickers. They are always appreciated. You repost that there. See if I can't get this to Mark. There you go. All right. So, as I see, there's not an abundance of people who want to ask me much about me, even though I've given you the go ahead to ask. So, I guess I'm not in a good place today. I'm pretty down, pretty depressed. I was very, very angry yesterday, very depressed, and wasn't in the space to do the show. But it reminds me, one day off's one thing, but you can ask me anything, but doesn't mean I'm going to answer if it's a ridiculous question. But it just reminds me, right now I really just want to go lay down. I want to go to bed. But I had a show to do at 12. I had an interview to do at 1:15, and I have this show to do now. I also have my job to do. When I get out of here, I got to go for a ride when we're done with this so I can go to the town hall. But the thing is, that's what life to me is all about, right? We all go through moments when we're down, when we're depressed, when we're sluggish, when we just don't feel like doing anything. But those are sort of the moments when we have to press forward, when we have to keep going, because that's how succeeding happens, right? That's how we accomplish things. We can't just lay down in a ball and cry and let the world collapse around us. And that doesn't mean we never take a break, right? So like yesterday, I started, to get down a little after 2, getting to do the show in that moment. I just couldn't, I wouldn't have been able to give you a high quality program, which is my goal. So I took a break yesterday, but then that's it. Today, I'm back at it. I'm going to get done what I need to get done. When I'm done here, I'm going to go do my job. I'm going to come home. I'm going to download the other video. I'm going to send it to my producer and get that out as soon as possible, because that's what we have to do in life if we wish to succeed. I'm reminded of a time in prison. Brent McCall and I had designed this program called the Imprisoned Program. It's an acronym that I don't remember what the acronym's for, but it was basically a rehabilitation program that was based on the criminological theories of Stanton Samnow, the philosophy of Ayn Rand, and the self-esteem theories of Nathaniel Branden. We promoted value change, acceptance of personal responsibility, growth through reason, that kind of thing. And Brent and I had been working on this for years. So the day that they call us for the meeting where they were going to assess if they wanted to actually implement the program in the prison. This is what we've been waiting for. On my way to where we were going for the meeting, I passed the counselor's office. The counselor had mail for me, legal mail. The legal mail was from a police department where my mother, the jurisdiction where my mother had committed suicide. So what it was giving me was my mother's suicide note. So I got my mother's suicide note on my way to this meeting. What was I going to do? I mean, I could have, I guess, gone back to my cell and gone to bed or cried or whatever, but this was important. So I went to the meeting. We got the program up and running, and it went for 4 years. And there was never one time in my life that I regretted going to that meeting. Not one. So Jim Valiant asks, he says, pushing ourselves hard is virtuous indeed, but how do we judge when we are pushing ourselves too much? Well, that ultimately has to be a call that each of us have to make, right? That I can't do this. I need a break. I need a rest, and I have to do it. That is the truth. We do at times need that. But I would be willing to bet that for most people, more often than not, it's the opposite error. We don't push ourselves hard enough. We don't try hard enough. We don't strive to achieve our purpose, to achieve our goals, to get things done, to make ourselves better, to come outside of our comfort zone. I think that most people, they just, when they get a little bit down, my mother was huge on this. My mother would always tell me, oh, you don't feel well, oh, don't go to school, or don't go, just don't do that. Mike, and I was in prison, you're reading too much, you need to watch TV, take a break. That was always the go-to. That's not good, right? If indeed you're pushing yourself too hard and you feel yourself getting burned out, then by all means take a break. But let's not hide facts from ourselves. Let's not pretend we're burnt when we aren't. And let's not pretend that we can't do things that we can. Because that, in the words of the great Rocky Balboa, is how winning is done. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about now, is moving forward when we don't feel like moving forward, getting things done when we don't feel like getting things done, doing what's right when all the emotional pressure in the world is driving us to do what's wrong. So, people, come with some questions, please. Give me some questions. I would love to answer them. But in the meantime, I'll give talk a little bit about forming judgments. I think would be maybe a good topic, and not rushing to conclusions. Yesterday, I think it was yesterday, there was an incident, and I'm not trying to talk politics. I just want to give an example so that we have something to discuss. There was an incident where an ICE agent killed a woman in her car. She was driving her vehicle. And a lot of people on social media are jumping to conclusions about this. They're either, she was a terrorist that got what was coming to her, or the ICE agent murdered her. Now, I've seen so many different videos of this. I don't know, they might be, they don't, I don't know if they're real videos. They could be deep fakes. AI could be from 2 years ago. I don't know. What I do know is that I don't have enough information to draw a firm conclusion on that. That's actually, I've had debates where somebody asked me a question during the debate. I said, well, that I don't know. And then it's looked at as a weakness. You don't know, you need to come prepared. I can't come prepared to know everything on the planet. I'm sorry. But you know what? Nobody can. And if we don't know, it's okay not to know. It's better to say I don't know than to feign knowledge we don't have, than to pass moral judgments on people without adequate information. Right? I don't want to be held accountable for things because somebody has formed. Hold on one. The dogs were barking, so I had to give them a bit of a shut up. So, nobody wants to be held accountable because somebody else has rushed to judgment. Nobody wants to suffer consequences because somebody wouldn't do their due diligence in finding things out. So when we're forming our judgments of other people and other situations, we should do the same thing. We should do our due diligence. And sometimes that means taking a while. Sometimes that means we have to wait because the information is just not there. But that's reality. That's what we sometimes have to do. No Name wants to know, is there anything that has changed your perception? There's been a lot of things that have changed my perception. I'm curious what you mean by that question. James Valiant says, terrorist is nuts, but we cannot know with certainty at this point. Very often, suspending judgment is the morally responsible thing. And I'm with Jim Valiant on this 10,000%. Probably, if there's give it a million, if I'm going to go over 100, hell, trillion%. So perceptions that have changed my mind. Well, I was learning it anyway. And when I was working on overcoming my fears of abandonment, my insecurities and fears of loss, and my own, insecurities about that, I was working on it psychologically. But when my mother died, um, by suicide, my biggest fear came to back pass, the ultimate abandonment. And I was okay. I mean, I was sad, I was depressed, it hurt like hell, but I was okay. Um, so that helped me with the ongoing shifting of my perception about what I can handle as far as relationships go. That I'm not gonna collapse, I'm not gonna fall apart, the sky's not gonna fall, the world's not gonna end because I lose someone, right? Losing people is unfortunately perhaps a part of life, right? We're all going to lose people until the day that we're gone ourselves. And if we give up, if we run for the hills, if we fly off the handle like I did when I was 21 years old, then we won't enjoy the life that we have. But we should enjoy the life that we have. It's so short, it's so brief. We have the time to experience all the wonder that is this world. We don't need to spend it being miserable or, pining over things that we can't control. And so that's one area in which my perception shifted. Another area is when I came to realize that my past didn't matter as far as my current behavior, that nobody else is responsible for the things I think, say, and do, that is all my responsibility. And while on the one hand, it sucks, to be honest, because you're like, damn, I really fucked up my life and there's nobody else to blame for it. But on the other hand, it's very, very empowering when you realize that you are responsible for your decisions, that nobody can make you do anything by what they say. I mean, I'm not, I'm ruling out pointing a gun at you, that sort of thing. I'm just talking about your daily life. Nobody can make you feel things. Nobody can make you do things. Your life is your own and you are responsible for it. You are in control. What is the show dog? No name. I don't know what that means. Help me out. Tell me what that means. I'm trying to think of another area where my um, perception shifted in life. Once you decide that it's evidence that matters, that facts matter, the old Joe Friday, just the facts. Once you are about the facts, you learn a lot. And you learn, for instance, is it a fact that if this person's no longer my friend, the world's coming to an end? No. Is it a fact that if so and so talks bad about me, that means it's true? No. Is it a fact that if I fail at something, I'm a loser? No. These are not facts. And we have to recognize what facts are. Yes, Danny, I have 5 dogs, 2 pit bulls, and they're behind a door and behind another gate, separated from me, and I don't want to have to go do all that. If I weren't here alone, maybe I'd tell someone else to do it, but I don't want to leave all you with, to go do that. Now, what the hell was I just saying? Oh, yeah, facts. So we want to pay attention to facts always. That should be our basic baseline, right? Facts are all that matters, right? My imagination doesn't matter. The way I wish things were doesn't matter. The way things could have been doesn't matter. It's the facts. I have to pay attention to the facts. And when I do that, when I pay attention to the facts, I can then operate in accordance with the facts. If I want to run across the street and a truck is coming, I'd best not do it. I best adjust to the fact that truck's coming. And if I want to live a happy life, I best adjust to the fact that my life is mine and that my behavior is my responsibility. It's not No Names. It's not Daniels. It's certainly not Jim Valiant's. It's mine. It's my responsibility. So let's circle back a little bit. I'm going through, I'm sad right now. I'm depressed. I'm having a situation. I don't want to really get into it because until it's settled. But it's a bummer. It's a bummer, and I'm really sad, and I really didn't feel like doing the 12 o'clock show. I didn't feel like doing the 1:15 interview. I didn't feel like doing this. I sure as hell don't feel like driving to Windsor, but I'm gonna do it all. I don't wanna get into that right now, no name. Maybe in the coming days, I'll discuss it. It's nothing life-shattering. I will make it through it. I've made it through far worse, and, I will be okay, and I will be happy again, and I will be ready to dance and party and go have coffee with Danny. If Danny was here now, I'd go have coffee with him today. Unfortunately, he is in Mexico. Katrin Kohler says, if you sense that a person is upset with you but won't say why, what is it right to ask once and then let it go, or should one rather keep trying to resolve it? There's two sides to that coin, Katrin, in my view. One is we don't want to engage in mind reading, right? We don't want to assume somebody is upset with us if they are not, right? We don't want to read their mind and say, oh, I know what's bothering them, or I know they're mad at me. We don't want to do that. So that is on us. That has to do with us knowing what we can know and what we can't know. Now, the flip side of that is sometimes people are passive aggressive, right? They act in ways towards you and then deny that that's what's occurring. And you have to be able to assess these things, right? You have to learn how to judge when to ask and when not to ask. But if somebody is saying, look, what you're asking me, no, I'm not mad at you. Ultimately, you have to take their word for it or not. I mean, you can't just keep badgering somebody. Well, you could, but it's not going to be very effective to just keep badgering somebody. No name, I thank you so much for the offer. I don't have WhatsApp, so I can't do that. But thank you so much for the offer. But yeah, I mean, I can't stand it when I know something's bothering somebody and they just tell me, no, no, it's not. It's not. That's aggravating to no end. Just tell me if I'm doing something wrong. Let me know what it is. I don't want to play games, right? I just want to know the truth. But I have been prone to mind reading as well and thinking people are thinking things, they're saying things, they want something, and it just turns out to not be the case. We really, I mean, this is a skill that we have to learn. Through experience and through effort. But the main thing is to commit ourselves to facts, to facts analysis, analyzed by reason. And when we do that, we are on a much surer footing to avoid mistakes. Doesn't mean we will never make them. Of course we will, but we will be able to avoid them to a much greater degree. Uh, It's free to download, Michael. Yeah, I don't want to. I got enough apps. Katrin Kohler says, yeah, it's a coworker who is acting weird. It happened in the past, and I asked her what's wrong. She said all is fine, but a couple of days later, she gets passive aggressive again. Well, if it's a coworker, I would suggest limiting your interactions with her to a business level, to whatever your jobs are. And ultimately, if she's got a problem, it's her problem. If she doesn't want to express it, then she's eating it. Right? It's bothering her. It's affecting her. And what she does, who cares? You don't need to be friends with this person. You're not in a relationship with this person. You work with this person. If it's affecting the work, well, then you might want to take different steps. You have to analyze it from a different angle, maybe address it from a different angle, maybe talk to your boss, something. But if it's not affecting your job, then it really, what difference does it make? If this person wants to be miserable, if this person wants to be unassertive and passive aggressive, that's on them, right? I don't know what IG is. No name. No name says IG. I don't know what IG is. So one of the things that I do, when I'm feeling down like this, I just sometimes we can't hate people. I hate it. Well, I'm the biggest control. Well, I don't know about the biggest anymore, but I'm a control freak, and I know. Yeah, I do have Instagram. I know how upsetting it can be when you want somebody to change and they won't. But you can't make people change. You can only change yourself. And what I do today, I remind myself the world's not coming to an end. I've been through far, far worse than what I'm dealing with now. Um, I've still got a ton of things in my life that are awesome, including this show, including this audience. I've got great friends. I mean, there's so much in this world that is there to be enjoyed. And you always got to keep that in perspective, right? To get through the downtimes. And I'm not talking about, you lose a leg or, some extraordinary trauma or some extraordinary hardship that you're bearing. I'm just talking about the normal day, everyday stuff that sometimes can be a bit much, or even maybe a little bit more than the everyday stuff, but it's not life shattering. It's not life ending. We just have to, I have to remind myself, this is part of life. This is part of what living entails. And it's up to me to make things better for myself. And part of making things better is doing this show, having this conversation, getting feedback from you, sharing my experiences with you. Right? It's all a growing. I don't want to. I was going to say experience, but I hate it because I just used the word experience. You know what I mean? I don't like to do that, but sometimes it's necessary. It's it's inevitable. I haven't had a chance. I haven't discussed the debate that I had the other night. I had a debate on the Biblical Anarchy podcast with a guy named Casimir, who going in, I knew he was a dick. And there were times I was a dick right back. And, I'm not proud of it, but it's not the end of the world either. I mean, the guy was a prick, so I pricked him back. I mean, I can be a dick like anybody, maybe I shouldn't have made fun of his haircut and his Amish outfit, but whatever. I did. And, again, a learning experience. I'm the person that likes to debate. So when you're going to debate, sometimes you're going to come across assholes. That's the nature of the case. I think Daniel maybe watched some of the debate the other night. So can I put up on the screen, ask me anything? Like, you could ask me anything. And I get nothing from you folks. Come on. Pry into my personal life. Ask me something. I don't mind. Katrin says, yeah, true. Daniel says, yes, it was interesting. I'm assuming he's referring to the aforementioned debate. I've been so thirsty. My middle name is William, after my father, who was William, but also Billy. That's not really a prying question. I like the stuff like No Name asked earlier. What changed your perception? What is my favorite book? Wow, that's a tough one. It's going to depend, I think, on genre. If it's novel, I would say it's either Les Miserables or Atlas Shrugged are my two favorite novels. I'd probably give Atlas the benefit of the doubt, only because there's not as much filler as there is in Les Miserables. Psychology of Self-Esteem by Nathaniel Branden is one of my favorites. Virtuous Selfishness, this right here, one of my favorites. I like a lot of classic novels. Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice is what a phenomenal book. Great book. My most embarrassing date from Jim Valiant. Do I want to share this on the air? I'll give you two examples. One time, it wasn't really a date, but I tried to kiss a girl and she moved, and I basically kissed the house. For that, I was when I was, I think, 14, maybe. Yeah. Did I try to turn 15 yet? I don't believe so. No. I was 14 at the time. That was one of the most embarrassing things. So another embarrassing thing, fellas in the audience, tell me if you can relate to this. We're driving around in an automobile, and the girl that I was seeing, just freshly seeing, we're new, we're not a long-term couple, just, haven't been intimate yet or anything. She's sitting on my lap. Guys out there, you know what happens when a pretty girl sits on your lap, correct? So this is a little embarrassing, on a first or second date that this is occurring, So what I did was I just tried to think of the most disgusting things I could possibly contemplate to try to stop this from occurring. And I think it worked, but it's happened more than once. I mean, but that's, I'm just remembering that, that right now that occurred. And I think that most teenage boys anyways, could probably relate to that. No Name says girls understand. I'm sure they do, because they've sat on those laps. And I'm sure they get it, but I don't know that they would be quite as embarrassed as the aforementioned male. My favorite movie. Do I prefer physical books, audiobooks, or ebooks? I like physical books. I do. Ebooks are fine. I don't like audiobooks. You listen to an audiobook and I can't focus. I look at something else. I love reading a book, and then I can go back and read. If I don't quite understand the passage, I go back. I go back over it. I can think it, or, I go forward and I said, does this clear up what I read earlier? Does this contradict what the author said earlier? And then I can flip back to it. I prefer that, and I can do that on a Kindle. I can do that with a regular book. I can't do that really on an audio book. I guess I can rewind it, but I'm not into that. My favorite movie. Wow. I think I'm going to give you my top 4 favorite movies. My top 4 favorite movies, and I think I don't know which one's the best. Godfather, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, $1 Million Baby, Judgment at Nuremberg. If you have not seen Judgment at Nuremberg, watch it. If you're interested in ethics, everyday ethics, if you're interested in morals and what can go wrong when we stray from good principles, watch Judgment at Nuremberg. I don't want to ruin the ending now. I want to tell you what happens, but you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna say, so spoiler alert. If you don't want to hear it, put your headphones down, turn the TV, whatever. There's a judge on trial in Nuremberg at the end of, when World War II is over. And he is not he was generally a good guy, but he did some bad things. He thought that it would be okay to rig some judgments when he was on the bench, and, for the greater good. And he's having a conversation, and he says to his interlocutor, I never thought that it would come to this, meaning the Holocaust. And the guy says to him, it came to this the moment you rigged your first verdict. And the point of that is once you violate principles, once you violate sound ethical principles, you are in dangerous waters. That's why integrity is vital. You often don't know where it's going when you violate that principle. You don't know what's going to occur. You don't know how it's going to bite you in the ass. But if you're living in a way where you're violating your principles, you can bet that ass biting is coming. Integrity is far more important than location. Character is everything. There's nothing in this world that I value more than my character. It's everything to me. And sometimes doing the right things hurts in the short run, but in the long run, when we do what's right, I believe life will get better. At least there's a probability that it will. Jim Valiant says powerful movie. Oh, absolutely. $1 Million Baby. My absolute favorite part of the movie is when Clint Eastwood has been asked to euthanize, I can't even remember her name now, the Hilary Swank character. And he's pondering it, and his priest tells him it's up to God to decide when people live and die. And Clint tells him, she didn't ask for God's help. She asked for mine. So think about that. Just think about what I said earlier. Integrity. And you are the one that needs to help you. Thank you so much for the €2. No Name. Really appreciate it. So for now, I have to go. I will be here tomorrow. Until then, please remember, be ethical.